As we've been reporting, a federal judge has dismissed the corruption case against Mayor Eric Adams and has done so permanently. For more on this, I want to bring in criminal defense attorney and former Manhattan prosecutor Jeremy Saland. Good to see you.
You as well.
Let's talk about this. Judge Dale Ho ordered this case to be dismissed with prejudice. We talked a lot about this over the last couple of months because the fear was that if it was done without prejudice, there would kind of be this hanging over Mayor Adams' head of he has to listen to whatever Trump says. Explain this to our viewers.
So if it was done without prejudice, that means it could be revived. And that specter, that sword, that ability to say, Mayor Adams, if you don't do X, in this case, likely the immigration policy enforcement, you can see yourself going forward on that case in a courtroom and prosecuted. Now, with prejudice, it's gone and it's gone for good. Though, if there are allegations of other misconduct that were not presented to that grand jury, and there was sort of reference to that in the past, there is the possibility, theoretically, that new charges, new evidence, new crimes could be alleged. If true, that could come forth later on. It
seems like anyone who would have the appetite to do that, though, has since resigned, unless I'm reading into that incorrectly.
Well, you hear the term fear or favor, as in the prosecution should not go after someone, based on favor and should have no fear in doing the right thing ethically. Here, there's fear and favor the other way, meaning there's fear from our federal government, Donald Trump, saying we're going to pursue something potentially and favor potentially, and that's the way people are looking at this case from the outside, and that's why Judge Ho brought in Paul Clement, this other attorney who was a solicitor general, to say, let me analyze this to make sure this is being done for the right reasons and there is no fear nor favor.
And speaking of that, with prejudice, without prejudice, I do want to read directly from this, right from Judge Dale Ho. It says, in light of DOJ's rationales, dismissing the case without prejudice would create the unavoidable perception that the mayor's freedom depends on his ability to carry out, as you mentioned, the immigration enforcement priorities of the administration, and that he might be more beholden to the demands of the federal government than to the wishes of his own constituents. We have been waiting for quite some time for this ruling from Judge Ho. What kind of questions do you believe he was asking himself before putting this out there?
I think he was really looking at this from an ethical perspective. I mean, there's only so much you can do, and this has been discussed many times from courtrooms to newsrooms about what can the judge really do when the Department of Justice says we are dismissing the case. What can the judge do to stop it? I think, unfortunately, what the judge tried to do as best as he could was to say, I'm going to figure out how to best articulate the rationale and reason why ultimately it needs to be dismissed, but I'm going to push back and say this isn't because of misconduct on the part of the Southern District. That's not what's happening here. This shouldn't be because we want Mayor Adams to adhere to the policy for immigration of the Trump administration. I can only do so much, but this is the reason why, and he explained it in his 70 some odd pages. It's not an easy lift for him, but he had to do it. He really didn't have many options.
As you mentioned, potentially could see a different separate indictment if they indeed do have any more evidence on him. But what happens next? There was drama within the Southern District because of this. Where do we look to next? Is Mayor Adams just free in the clear and free to go do his thing?
Well, barring anything coming down by new presentation of evidence in a grand jury indictment and from other allegations, again, not what's contained in the four corners of that indictment, he's as free and innocent as you and me or anyone else. Now, whether that means that nonetheless, as perceived, he's going to pursue the Trump policies for immigration, that is yet to be seen. That's a political question. But in terms of law enforcement, he's a free man. He's done nothing wrong in the eyes of the law.
Jeremy, in our final couple moments here, anything else that stands out to you from this case, this ruling that we've been talking about so much and analyzing so much?
Talk about so much. There's constantly, every day, there's some new legal pushing of that envelope that Donald Trump does, whether it's birthright citizenship, whether it's firing a prosecutor in California, whether it's getting rid of inspector generals. There's constantly something that's happening with the Trump administration. The Alien Enemies Act. It's too much for any one person to follow, and you have to do your due diligence because this envelope is being pushed in ways that we have not seen before, and you should be thankful for judges like Judge Ho who take the time, whether we agree with it or in the end or not, who take the time to do his and her due diligence to put this country in the right place in the rule of law. It's frightening, but it needs to be done.
Jeremy Saland, good to talk to you as always. Thank you for your time.